Hi, it's Katrina. From a dinosaur death match to bizarre ancient aliens, here are 8 of the strangest skeletons that have ever been found. Number 8. Dinosaur Death Match. You've got to love dinosaur bones. They teach us about the animal's behavior and appearance and what they ate. There have been a lot of great dinosaur skeleton finds over the years, helping us to discover new species and try to figure out what the world was like long before we came around. But this find has to be seen to be believed. In 1971, a team of Polish and Mongolian paleontologists discovered 2 dinosaurs locked in combat, perfectly preserved. The dinosaurs were identified as a velociraptor and a protoceratops that were fighting when suddenly they were both buried in time forever. To refresh your dinosaur facts, the velociraptor was a vicious predator, while the protoceratops was an herbivore. You'd think that the velociraptor would have quite the edge over its potential prey, but instead, the protoceratops was actually putting up a good fight. The bones of each dinosaur prove that each side landed some pretty good blows. The velociraptor had landed a claw strike on the neck, while the protoceratops had its jaws locked on the velociraptor's arm so hard that it broke it. Velociraptor versus protoceratops. Who wins? Well, that's the thing. Before they could finish, a sand dune or a mudslide collapsed, flowing right over them as they fought, pinning them in their position. Another theory is that the herbivore bled to death, pinning the velociraptor underneath until it died too, and they were both covered by a sandstorm. Regardless, this epic battle from the Gobi Desert is a powerful reminder of a fight from a world long since gone. This dinosaur death match is considered a national treasure of Mongolia. Number 7. The Atacama alien skeleton. In 2003, a very small skeleton was found with a very long head that ended in a point and missing ribs. Rumors spread and conspiracy theorists began shouting "alien" from the rooftops. The remains were sold to a private collector in Spain and ended up in a documentary in 2013 as potential evidence for alien life. And yet, it is a human. The remains were found in La Nordia in the Atacama Desert, wrapped in a white cloth tied with a purple ribbon. Scientists from Stanford University, along with the University of California in San Francisco, studied the specimen and concluded Atta was a human. Atta was a girl with genetic mutations known to cause major skeletal malformations, along with other birth defects. She is only 15 centimeters long and most likely died shortly after birth. Scientists are hoping their analytical tools can help patients and their families with conditions caused by some of these genetic mutations. In the end, it is a sad story of a woman from the past who had a child she was unable to save and was later sold as an alien artifact. Thanks to DNA, her humanity has been restored. Number 6. Predator becomes prey. In the words of a Jedi Master, there's always a bigger fish. But in this unique skeleton find, it was actually a somewhat small fish that caused the deaths of 3 as it tried to attack something much bigger than itself. This is the tale of a pterosaur, a mighty winged creature from long ago. And one day it was doing its thing, looking for its lunch and swooping over the sea. Eventually, it was able to find a fish in the water, grabbed it, started to fly away, and finally find somewhere it could eat. However, as the pterosaur flew away, an Aspidorhynchus came out of the water and decided to take a bite out of the pterosaur. Fun fact, the Aspidorhynchus was a fish and was only 2 feet long, but it had one heck of a bite. It latched onto the pterosaur, and that's when problems began to mount. First off, despite it having a good bite on the pterosaur's wing, it wasn't strong enough to do anything else. Furthermore, somehow the way the wing was angled, or the feathers or something, made it impossible for the Aspidorhynchus to let go, and it was stuck. As for the pterosaur, having the fish latched onto its wing disrupted its very delicate balance. And so it, the Aspidorhynchus, and the fish the pterosaur had gotten earlier crashed into the waters below. Together, they all drowned, in a certain manner of speaking, and somehow they all died and sank to the bottom of the ocean, where their skeletons became a fossil that shows that irony truly did exist in the prehistoric days. And now for number 5. But first, be sure to subscribe if you are new here. For those of you already subscribed, thank you so much. And Early Squad, I see you there. Number 5. Roopkund Skeletons. Okay, so the only thing more unsettling than finding one skeleton in an odd place is finding multiple skeletons in an odd place. Hundreds, in fact. In 1942, the British heard a rumor that there were hundreds of Japanese soldiers who had died in Lake Roopkund in the Himalayas. They went to investigate, and when they arrived, they saw no fewer than 200 skeletons. The thing was, they weren't fresh enough. Known as Skeleton Lake, it was hard to determine what had happened to these people. Dating the bones put the time of their deaths between the 9th and 10th century, but nobody knew who they were and why they died in such numbers. They all died in a similar way, from blows to the head. But who did this and why? There is a legend that a king and his followers offended and defiled the mountain sanctuary of a Hindu goddess named Meta. She was so mad at these outsiders that she rained death upon them by flinging hailstones hard as iron. The legend might actually reveal the truth of what happened. This group of people all had the same deep cracks in their skull, but there is no evidence of a weapon being used. Researchers came to the same conclusion. These travelers were all stuck in the valley without any shelter, and the cricket-sized balls of hail resulted in their sudden death. They were stuck in the lake for 1,200 years before they were rediscovered. Number 4. Skeleton Tree. During a storm in Ireland, a large birch tree was knocked over. It was quite a surprise when a human skeleton was found embedded in the massive roots. Now that's weird enough. Researchers were called in, and it turns out that under the 215-year-old tree was the skeleton of a young man between 17 and 20 years old. The bones were dated back to the medieval period between 1030 and 1200 AD. The entire skeleton had been given a Christian burial given the positioning of the legs. Unfortunately, when the tree toppled over, it took the top half of the boy with it, ripping his skeleton out of the ground and leaving his torso and legs behind. Examination of the skeleton revealed that he had died a rather violent death. There were knife wounds in the ribs, the victim had been stabbed multiple times, there might be a hidden graveyard and remains of a lost church hidden under the ground nearby. Number 3. Conehead Skeletons. There is an ancient fortified settlement in Russia that dates back to around 2,000 to 3,000 BC. Also known as the Russian Stonehenge, it is believed to be older than Stonehenge itself. Archaeologists have tried to find out who lived there, and more recently, a skull with an elongated cone shape was found at this site. People believed that once again we had proof of an alien race. This rumor spread fast, especially since the site itself is surrounded by mystery like strange lights, magnetic anomalies, illnesses, and it has attracted all kinds of alien hunters and researchers. However, during an examination, not only was this long skull found to be human and female, it turns out she was much older than most long-skulled beings that have been found. It seems like she belonged to the Sarmati tribe between 500 BC to 400 AD. This tribe was famous for their female body modification, including slicing off the left breast to make it easier to hunt and fight. They would sometimes tie up their children's heads with rope to elongate their skulls, although archaeologists still aren't sure why. People still argue that ancient people used to forcefully elongate their skulls because of interactions with aliens. About that, I have no idea. Number 2. A centaur. Okay, this one wasn't really a find, but it's still worth talking about. At the Tucson International Wildlife Museum, you'll actually find a skeleton of a centaur. Yes, as in the creature from Greek mythology. It's not an actual centaur, but it's there. So why is it there? Well, it's actually part of a section of the museum that's dedicated to mythological creatures. So the founder of the exhibit decided to merge a human skeleton with a horse skeleton and show it off as an example of what might have been if the creature had actually existed. You have to admit, it's a little convincing, and it clearly wasn't just hacked together. They took time to make it shine. But what's the real point of this? It's to remind people that long before the time of hard science, there were myths and legends and stories about creatures that we could only dream about. And the beauty of science is to take a look at what was believed to be real and then prove what actually is real. This story reminds us that science and stories used to be one. Number 1. Vampire skeleton. One of the other beautiful things about science is that it can debunk the existence of certain mythological creatures definitively. While it's nice to believe in centaurs, human history is ripe with claims of dangerous mythological creatures living among us, like vampires. It's true, vampires were something that people not only believed in, but actually hunted down to ensure that they didn't hurt anyone else. And in Bulgaria, one such victim of this kind of hunt was found, and it was pretty gruesome. The skeleton was 700 years old, but that was just the beginning of the tale it had to tell. First off, the skull of the body had no teeth, no doubt to ensure that if the vampire did rise again, it wouldn't be able to drain anyone's blood. Then there was the fact that someone had stabbed an iron rod through its chest. Impaling a vampire has long been believed to be a way to kill it, although the most popular theory on how to kill it was via a wooden stake. But hey, iron works too. As if all of that weren't enough, the body was buried in a churchyard, aka holy ground, and was layered with thick walls of stone. So even if the vampire had superhuman strength, it wouldn't be able to lift the stone walls and get out. This is not a lone case. There have been many skeletons found that have been mutilated to ensure that the vampire didn't come back and hurt people. And this isn't even counting werewolves, witches, and other creatures who have been seen by people, sort of, and killed again because of it. Thankfully, we've evolved since then. Thanks for watching! What did you think of these weird skeletons? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe and I'll see you soon. Bye everyone!